All right, we'll call this City Council Special Meeting CIP Update Series agenda to order for Monday, March 24th, 2025 at 4 o'clock p.m. Roll call certification of quorum. I'll certify we have a quorum present as all members of the council are present and in the chambers. So with that, Madam Secretary, do we have any citizens' comments? None on that, so we'll move to new business. Capital Improvement Program CIP Update Series, Drainage and Transportation. With that, we'll turn it over to Trent.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Council. So we'll move into the workshop. We're covering drainage and transportation tonight, not only the capital improvement program and ongoing and upcoming projects, as well as the maintenance of those portions of our infrastructure. So I'm going to hand it over to our Director of Engineering and Public Works, Lorenzo Wingate, to get us kicked off. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today's presentation will kick off the first CIP update series for or calendar year 25. We'll start that off with drainage and transportation. You guys will get CIP updates as well as O&M updates throughout the presentation. We always like to start this conversation off with how the strategic priorities help guide us through the things that we do CIP related. With the how, trying to utilize trusted government and resilient finances to build up the what, the safe community, strong economy, sustainable infrastructure, and connected community, all to make Pearland the community of choice. So as we go through today's presentation, you guys will see how our future with the purpose intertwines with the CIP. You guys will get drainage, transportation updates, as well as project updates before we close out the presentation. One of the big things that we like to highlight is the future with the purpose, how you guys' strategic priorities help build our CIP. One of the biggest things is the comprehensive plan ties back into you guys' strategic priorities, and then we use our master plans to help build CIP. A couple of the plans that you guys will kind of get projects from today will be the drainage master plan, the thoroughfare plan, and the multimodal plan. So several of the projects that you guys will hear about today will stem from some of these master plans. So right now, we are in the second quarter of CIP. Right now, everybody submitted all of their capital projects, all the different user groups, all the different stakeholders. We're revising and making changes and edits and coming up with final budgetary costs before we kick off the next step, which kicks us in the third quarter, finalizing CIP and moving on to present the capital, the FY26 CIP to P&Z in a couple months. So again, this is the first CIP update series for transportation and drainage for calendar year 25, which will follow with the CIP workshop. And then the next CIP update series will be over parks and facilities. And at this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Rachel Winslow, head of the Office of Management and Budget, to talk about CIP budget approval and associated impacts.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So our annual CIP approval or process begins with CIP approval, which was on September 9th. And this approved the projects for the current fiscal year. On October 14th, the intent to reimburse for fiscal year 25 was approved. This approves expenditures up to the amount shown for fiscal year 25, but individual contracts are still approved by Council. In May of 2025, we'll have our fiscal year 2025 debt sold in fiscal year 25 will impact the fiscal year 2026 debt rate. At the time of the debt sale, we'll be presenting an updated debt impact, and we will present an additional one at the CIP workshop in June. And changes made to the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan will impact the fiscal year 27 debt rate. Our O&M costs are built into CIP projects and included in the budget year of initial operation. Operational costs are considered in the multi-year budget forecast as well as the rate model. Here for this last CIP, we have our original fiscal year 25 tax rate impact and the updated impact analysis based off of our adopted CIP and budget. And with that, I would like to turn it back over to the Assistant Director of Capital Projects, Fabiola de Cavajo.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm happy to be here today once again to present you with our drainage and transportation capital projects. We have a lot of projects to cover today. So next. Here's an overview of what we'll be presenting. We'll look at the drainage projects that are starting in fiscal year 25, anticipated future projects, completed projects, as well as projects that are currently in design and or construction. At the end of the drainage and operations and maintenance presentation, we will open up for questions. This table is a snapshot of the recently approved budget amounts for the fiscal year 25 capital improvement program and the projected totals for fiscal years between 25 and 29. Overall, the 5-year program totals out to approximately $123 million. Council, remember, fiscal year 25 represents the budget approved by Council. Future years' budgets are listed for financial planning purposes and can be increased or decreased depending on city needs, Council's directions, and funding availability. Keep in mind that as we start developing the next 5-year CIP, the recommended projects for fiscal year 26 will be the ones that will impact the DACT for fiscal year 27 and so forth. The list in front of you showcases the projects that will be started in fiscal year 25. These projects were voted approved in on the 2023 bond election. These projects will improve stormwater conveyance and address pavement issues. These are the anticipated future projects. They have not started yet and are scheduled for future fiscal years. These projects have been voted approved on the 2023 bond election as well. I'll go over in more detail on some of these on the next slides. From the anticipated future projects, I would like to highlight the Fight Road Drainage Improvement Project, which the limits of work are from Cullen Parkway to Harkey Road. Although this project has funding approved for fiscal year 25 to start the design, we cannot construct this project until TxDOT addresses the drainage issues on FM 1128. Otherwise, the drainage intent of this project will not work due to potential bottleneck downstream. Currently, TxDOT has an active project to widen the FM 1128 to include drainage improvements from FM 518 to Mary's Creek. The design is in its early stages, but we have been coordinating closely with TxDOT. And once TxDOT complete their drainage improvements, this project scope can be reduced, meaning significant lowering the cost of this Fight Road project for the city. As you can see on the, if you go back a little bit, what's in bubble is what can be reduced out of the Fight Road drainage project, and south of that T that you can see as red, depicted in red on the screen. Next. Still on anticipated future projects, I would like to highlight the Isla Drive, North Galveston, Sherrill Drive drainage improvements. This project will include the removal of the existing concrete road, asphalt roadway pavement, roadside ditches, and replacement with the city standard concrete curb and gutter roadway with underground storm sewers. So we just finished talking about the future projects. Let's talk about the accomplishments. Council, this table shows the drainage projects that have been completed in the last 2 years. These are the accomplishments through collaboration of multiple departments, especially the capital projects and public works divisions. I'll be going over some of these projects in more detail in the next slides. Here's one project that I would like to highlight, the Cowards Creek Detention Pond Station Generator, which was completed within budget and in 2023. Another project to highlight is the West Lee Subdivision Drainage Improvements, which was completed in mid of 2023 and on budget. Council, as you are aware, city is planning on addressing the roadway needs in this subdivision in this year. Here are some pictures during and after construction of the drainage project. Here's another project completed at the end of 2023 on schedule and on budget. And here are some pictures during and after construction. This is another project completed in 2024 on budget and on time. This project provided better drainage to the neighborhood. We will now talk about the various drainage projects that are currently under design. Here you can see the estimated design completion year and the design budget. Some of these projects have been combined with others to better allocate resources by designing and constructing together to minimize the impact to residents. By doing this, we are in and out of a neighborhood at the same time, as opposed to have separate projects constructed separately and conveniently the residents multiple times. For example, the Hickory Slough Sportsplex Detention Pond Phase 2 and the Hickory Slough Sportsplex Detention Pond Stormwater Pump Station Generator were combined with the Hickory Slough Sportsplex Phase 2 Parks Project. Here are additional projects that are currently under design. From this list, the Garden Acres, Hickory Creek, Heritage, Miller, Brooklyn Acres subdivision drainage improvements, and Hickory Slough embankment slope replacement have been combined so we can design and construct together. These projects are being funded by the Texas General Land Office grant, the GLO, and another project that has been combined is the Shady Crest Creek View drainage improvements, which has been combined with the water line project. I'll go over some of these projects in the next slides. Out of the projects currently under design, I would like to highlight the southwest quadrant of Old Town drainage improvements, which will include regrading of the roadside ditches and road pavement improvements. This is one of the projects I mentioned earlier that was combined with other projects to better allocate resources and minimize inconveniences to residents. This one was combined with the water line project. Council, this is another project that has been combined with other projects to include water and wastewater. Staff is committed to making sure we look at the condition and needs of the neighborhood, reducing the impacts as much as we can, making the right investment on the right asset at the right time. By combining the drainage project with the water and wastewater projects, we'll reduce inconveniences to residents and better allocate resources. As you're aware, the drainage portion of the Shady Crest subdivision is being funded by bonds and was approved through the bond election in 2023 by Pearland's residents. Note that this is too early, still in the design, to know the construction completion date, but we estimate construction to be completed by June of 2028. We currently have a few projects in construction. These projects also have been combined into one, as you see here on the screen. These are funded by GLO. These projects are estimated to have construction complete in August of this year. As I mentioned, this is another GLO grant funding project. Construction is going well so far. At this time, I will pass the presentation over to Mr. Eric Heyman, Assistant Director of Public Works.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and thank you for another opportunity to highlight our drainage maintenance program since the last time we had this discussion. As a quick reminder of why drainage maintenance is important, we see that impacted storm sewers could lead to downstream flooding, property damage, habitat loss, sanitary sewer overflows, contamination, as well as erosion. However, through routine and targeted maintenance activities, as well as our capital improvement projects, we believe that we can reduce the impacts of flooding within our community. To highlight the magnitude of the drainage system, we offer this glimpse here of the 372 miles of drainage system that spans the entire community. To put it into context, that length of pipe would extend well beyond New Orleans if we connected it end over end right here from City Hall. So keep in mind that there's an additional 144 miles of open ditch not represented in this image, and that open ditch system typically runs parallel to our asphalt streets. And as well, we have over 13,800 inlets. Now, each of these is a critical asset. It can also be a point of failure. It can also be a location for debris and sedimentation to obstruct and cause issues to our flow. So I'll add that the team continues to inventory the drainage infrastructure throughout our program. And since we commenced, we have increased our open ditch system inventory by 7.5%. So recall, we kicked this program off April of 23 rather. And since then, based on ongoing inventory activities, we've increased our open ditch system by 7.5%, and we've increased our enclosed system by 16%. So we continue to watch the asset grow. Okay. In addition to the assets we previously highlighted, the city currently maintains 110 FEMA buyout lots. We inspect over 300 detention facilities that are comprised of both private and public ownership, provide grounds maintenance activities to 750 acres of drainage and buyout property, and as well provide all the emergency response support as it relates to the drainage activities. For anybody who may be unfamiliar with what got us here today, in March of 22, while we were draining this elevated storage tank just behind City Hall, we noticed that we started to get some surface flooding and ponding in the area. The team ran out, investigated the site, and after much investigation, we found that a large tree root had grown right inside the storm sewer system here in our own backyard. That's actually the root system in comparison to one of our inlets, just to show the scale and the magnitude. And
We still have the root?
yes, sir.
Good, all right.
It is shellacked and will be forever memorialized. All right. Prior to fiscal year 23, we merged the right-of-way and streets and drainage division into a single division. In total, only 6 employees, inclusive of the supervisor, were assigned to drainage-related services. However, in response to a need for increased drainage activities, council supported a recommendation to increase staffing levels and develop a new standalone drainage team, along with all of the critical assets and equipment necessary to ramp up this service. So that support includes the addition of 7 drainage team members, allowing our current staff total of 14, as well as a superintendent and a supervisor to focus on leading that charge and helping coach, mentor, and direct staff. The result of the program-based approach and desire to advance systematically throughout the community, staff purpose to inspect, clean, reestablish flow lines as necessary on a 10-year basis. Year 1 commenced in Zone A with the team working counterclockwise throughout the community. While there remains some residual work to complete in the first zones, the team is working to bring those areas into a conclusion with both in-house and contractual services. Shortly thereafter, we'll be entering Zone C, as you see here on the map, with our preliminary inspection services and survey work. As staff advance, we are monitoring for large impacts to the drainage system that may require capital improvements or additional resources to correct, as well as monitoring our ability to effectively manage the program, make sure that we're scaled accordingly. The original timeline shared to meet that 10-year goal was based on an average of 14.5 miles of open ditch maintenance a year, as well as 33 miles of enclosed storm sewer inspection and maintenance a year. To illustrate a few of the successes of the team, we have identified and addressed the following deficiencies. The first here on the left is a set of driveway culverts on Charles Avenue. This community was developed in the 80s, while the second is for Moray Drive, located in Cullen Estates, which started home construction and driveway installation in 2015. These photos capture decades of sedimentation with over 50% blockage in one image, as well as restricted flow in another. And moreover, they show that new and aged infrastructure are both impacted by sedimentation, which is why it's important to have this program-based approach. To paint a full picture of the work that occurs, staff first visit an area and ensure design flow lines have been maintained based on culvert elevations. In areas where buildup has impacted the flow lines, staff then cut or swab the ditch to restore the appropriate design flow line. And then after that flow line is restored, our staff must clean out the impacted culverts, which you see here, to remove that sedimentation or obstruction and ensure the water moves as intended. In some cases, we do have very quick wins. In other cases, there are larger, heavier lifts that require a little bit additional staff time to complete and do a good job. Another example of this critical service includes the cleaning of our storm sewer manholes. We shared previously an asset inventory, and there's approximately 6,166 of these storm sewer manholes within our network. Each of these serve as a point of entry for staff, as well as a point of accumulation for debris as it enters the inlets, moves throughout the pipes, and then congregates around obstructions where these flows meet. So they often require jetting by the staff, vacuuming, and at time personnel to enter these manholes and physically remove this debris by hand, as you see here. A good example of impacts or deviations to our program-based approach, I should say, often look like this. In this case, the storm sewer in Green Tea, specifically on Country Club Drive, collects stormwater from the roadway via inlets, as represented in the brown triangles on the image to your left. That collected water is then moved underground to homes there and ultimately discharges into the drainage easement behind the houses, as illustrated in the orange lines. Upon staff arrival, the team identified that we had localized flooding. The inlets were found to be clear and free of debris, but upon inspection, the outfall behind those homes had minimal water movement through the piping system, which led staff to determine that we had an obstruction, and we dispatched our combination cleaner truck to come out, jet the lines, and on a blue sky day, much like we have today, we're able to go back out and dispatch our CCTV camera to see what was actually causing the obstruction. Was it a sports ball? Was it leaf litter, old newspaper, excuse me, or just an accumulation of 50 years of debris from within this community? And so we're excited to get that camera in there and see what's really causing the issues. And finally, we'll share a collage of drainage repair activities conducted in conjunction with our streets team. The vast network of drainage infrastructure intersects our transportation network across the community. To reduce impacts to our residents and coordinate work activities, our street team and drainage team often work hand in glove. In this instance, Garden Road was being repaved, and upon inspection of the storm sewer near the roadway, it was determined that an existing metal storm pipe was found to be in disrepair, causing subsequent failure to the road. While we don't know exactly when that metal pipe was installed underneath the street, we do have imagery dating back to 1978 indicating that the drainage system intersected where this culvert was located. So the drainage team removed the old aged infrastructure, installed new, which meets our design criteria, and prepped the road for rehabilitation, which has since occurred. As we touched on briefly, the city leverages contractual services to augment our in-house staff capabilities. As we monitor the program and staff capacity, contractual services aid in supplementing performance impacts caused by intermittent staffing challenges, weather delays, as well as priority conflicts, such as those non-program work activities that we shared previously. In April, staff staff do intend, right? Coming at you here real soon. So staff intends to present an open ditch maintenance contract for award with Texas Drainage, previously effective contract and a highly valued contractor who helps us make sure that our service levels and our metrics are in alignment with the program and help supplement staff activities. Additionally, after a successful pilot project in 2023, City Council also awarded a contract with National Works for outsourced cleaning and inspection of the enclosed system. And so that contractor actually ramped up services this past week. They're out on Magnolia Road, and they're helping to make sure that all of our enclosed system is cleaned and safe and operable as we needed it to be. As we begin to close out, we offer this snapshot in time from earlier this month of the team's completed services within the community. Keep in mind that while we operate from a program-based approach, we currently manage work orders that are submitted outside the program zone, but addressed as prioritization requires. The team has developed an analysis tab on our public dashboard. You can find this on our drainage page online, which includes all of our metrics and monitoring. We are well beyond our target for our open ditch maintenance system, and we're approximately 50% through our enclosed system forecasted to this point. That said, please recall that enclosed system contractor was anticipated, budgeted for, contract secured, and is out in our community right now. Additionally, I'll add that one of our next steps on this dashboard is to begin to capture the drainage activities done by our CIP team to make sure that those are illustrated on here and count towards those metrics. Ms. Fabiola just did a great job sharing some of the completed drainage work that their team have done, and we need to make sure that we memorialize that here. I'll point out again that the team continues to identify new assets as we continue our inventory service and work to balance our community needs with work orders and requests. And finally, I'll close with reminding that those online and those here in the room, that the dashboard is alive and available to anybody who chooses to look at it. It's under the drainage services, and you can find all kinds of key updates to the drainage program and activities. So with that, I thank you for your time, and we'll turn it back over to Mr. Epperson for closeout.
Nothing further, Mayor. Be happy to entertain any questions at this point.
Sounds good. We'll go to council for questions, comments.
Can we go to slide 15? So I'm looking at the drainage ditches marked in blue, and just below the green bubble is a Brazoria County drainage ditch that's not marked. So it just brought to my eye, we're working with the drainage district, and they're looking at the stuff we're doing too, and we're using their facilities as well in our design. Just wanted to make that. I had that question for you, and then I wanted to talk about the green bubble. I think I heard that this part could be reduced due to the expansion of 1128. Did I hear that correctly? Also.
Yes. So that the portion of the green and south of that is depicted in red, that is part of the TxDOT's drainage project. So once they finalize or they get more advanced in their design, then we can try to coordinate with them and move forward with the Fight Road and then remove that green portion out of the Fight Road. But right now, we have not started Fight Road.
Okay, do we know the timeline of the expansion of 1128?
I would say that they're more or less mid-stage in the design right now. I can get you information about when they're planning on starting the construction and completing construction on this project.
Okay, but we're not going to wait for them on our drainage in this section. We're going to proceed. I just don't understand. I guess this area being reduced, does that mean the design of it, or the plans that we're going to? I guess I'm asking a little more about that. Like, what does reduced mean?
So the original intent was for us to come in and make some of the improvements along 1128 that would capture some of the stuff along Fight. With the flow actually comes back towards Fight from those side streets. It's Fight and then goes south to Mary's Creek. With TxDOT picking up the drainage improvements along 1128 as part of that 1128 expansion project, we won't have to include that as part of our scope. Right now, TxDOT's moving forward. They're advancing that project as an unfunded project for construction, but they expect to get to construction somewhere around 27, 28. So we're starting right now. I know they did preliminary survey. They may be working towards 30% design completion, but we're trying to at least align our project scope with theirs so that we aren't double dipping.
Okay, and the first question, working with BDD4, and using their facilities too, we're not just this project, but in all our projects, we're
right. So we typically will rely on engineering. If we can coordinate with BDD4 to use whatever capacity they have in their facilities, we will. If we still have capacity available in any of our detention facilities, we'll utilize that also.
Excuse me, Councilman Thuman, can you word the question again? I'm a little confused about the BDD4 part, and I can explain about the TxDOT's project too.
okay. But so their engineers and you guys are working together, BDD4 and our drainage.
Yes, when we conceptualize the project, we always reach out to them, because whenever our project outfalls into their system, we need to get their approval. They have their own requirement. Although we are the floodplain administrator, they manage their ditch system, and they want to see no impact with the ditch. So we always coordinate with them. I want to address the front part. TxDOT has project to widen FM 1128 from Broadway all the way to Bailey Road project. So when they do that project, that will address the main drainage issues along FM 1128. And that is the major portion that is going to cost a lot for us to improve from Fight Road to Mary's Creek, because we have to install big boxes to take the flow from that intersection all the way to Magnolia. When that is taken care by TxDOT, then that will address majority of the issues, and the rest of all will be just ditch regrading from east and west to that intersection.
Okay, so this section of Fight's getting done. It really, the green bubble should be on 1128 then.
That is correct. That is correct, because from when we did Fight Road improvement, we have installed storm sewer system up to Piper Road. So up to Piper Road, it's already that there is a storm sewer system. From Piper Road east side to the ditch, we have a good drainage system. So that is, the green should be from the Fight Road to Mary's Creek.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So when you're talking about that, we're talking about some of our cost looks like is going to be absorbed into TxDOT's project on 1128. Is that?
Yes, that is correct. Until last year, they were mentioning that there are almost 30% level. And last time I spoke with their consultant was in January, and that time what their answer was, they had some issues with the survey and they are redoing the survey. Since then, we haven't heard from TxDOT.
Couple things. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this same screen, just for clarity, because I heard two different things. During the presentation, if I understand correctly, y'all said that the Fight Road project will not be done until the TxDOT project is done. Is that correct?
That will be beneficial to us if we wait for the TxDOT to take care of 1128 drainage system. That's if their projects extends for long. If we have to delay several years, then it's a good idea for us to make it priority. But if the project is on a schedule, it's good for us to wait for TxDOT to improve the drainage system, so we don't need to put our costs to improve the drainage system along.
Yeah, I understand that part. I just want to be clear. We are not going to move forward, because I know Member Tuman was asking about this. We're not moving forward with Fight until TxDOT moves forward with 1128.
That is, yes, a recommendation from us.
Okay.
And just to add to that, I think that's a kind of a judgment we've got to make at some point based on what TxDOT's schedule looks like when their schedule solidifies. There is a good sized cost delta if we can get that project to go ahead of us. But if we find out TxDOT's not going to do the project for 10 years, then we've got to make a call. Do we spend those dollars to make the drainage improvement now?
Currently.
They are in design. It's not funded, but they are in design. And usually if they're pulling the trigger on design, they're looking to find the money for the project.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be the second part of my question is, at what point do we say we're not waiting? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? I guess that's something we need to figure out. For the current time being, we're saying we're waiting, correct? Okay. It sounds like from the presentation, to be sure, it sounds like our 2023 bond program is on schedule. Our commitment was to start or finish everything in it within 5 years. Sounds like from this, we're on path with that.
Right, to at least start everything within the next 5 years.
Great. And then the last one that I had was you put up a graphic about some localized drainage and flooding in Green Tea. I wasn't quite sure I understood. Have we already fixed that, or we're hoping to fix that soon?
Sir, we mitigated the immediate issue, which was the impacted drainage system. We got the water to dislodge or to move downstream as intended. We have since gone back out, TV'd the line, have not found an obstruction in the line that leads us to believe it was anything more than either leaf litter or newspapers. And so when that line was surcharged and we push it out, that ends up going downstream pretty quickly. So there's nothing residual, my point being. There's nothing residual, no failures in the line that lead us to believe we have an additional ongoing issue. We do believe that it was just sedimentation or debris that became a one-time impact in that area.
Cool. Thank you.
Sweet. Mr. Koza.
Thank you, Mayor. So on some completed projects that I've had contact with citizens on the Wesley subdivision. The latter part of this year, is that what I heard, we're going to be working on their roads for them that they have issues for?
Right. So we're currently getting geotech services squared away so that we can actually start repaving those roads.
All right, and when you say latter part, like the last quarter, second quarter, what do we?
I'd say second half of this year. So I'd expect us to be at least close to starting construction by May.
Should be fourth quarter of the fiscal.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just, because I've got people asking questions about it. Also on Willow Crest, we did have one gentleman come up and speak shortly after that was completed, where there was some standing water. I've also received phone calls about some issues with water standing where it hadn't before. Have we got those issues addressed, and have we cleaned that up?
Yes, so for everything that was reported back to us on Willow Crest, we've actually gone back out and replaced several of those panels and gotten water to move to inlets where they're supposed to go.
Okay, so we don't have standing water, I guess is what.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. And then on projects moving forward on page or slide 14, DR 2601, I assume with the 26, the Isla Galveston Cheryl, we're looking at 26 starting design. Would that be a safe assumption?
No, starting design in 27.
Design in 27, okay. And then as far as construction, what's the timeline on looking at?
I can get that information and pass it on to you later.
Because I've got citizens asking about that. One says she hopes she lives to see it, so the sooner the better on that, if you could. And then the Shady Crest on slide 23 and 25, we've got Shady Crest Creek View. It said in design in 26 and then construction in 28. So is the design work, we're looking at having that completed in 26 with construction starting in 28? So that's the overhead picture of it. 23 had the.
So the design on the project is started, and I can double check, but I
On
believe
slide 23, if you go to slide 23, it had, where's it at?
So I believe that's the completion of the design. We're under design right now, right?
yes. Okay, so yes,
and we'll
that's the
complete the
design completion date, and the construction completion date, I believe it's 2028.
Yes, on
June, I
25 it
think.
had, yeah, so in 26, roughly what are we looking at design completion in 26? Latter part of the year, 2 months from now? Kind of timeline on that?
I do have it. I just don't remember on top of my head, but I can get that and pass it.
Yeah, that'd be fine. And then final question, Eric, on our project to clean up the ditches and drainage and stuff. How's that coming along since we've got everybody hired and we got all the tools and trucks and everything going?
Member Koza, we seem to be moving along very well. We believe that we laid a solid foundation. We believe that this past year the team really set the cornerstone, and that program is now off and running. We've had some learning opportunities. We know where our strengths are. We know we're going to need to continue to leverage some outsourced services, but we believe we've got a good handle on it. Our colleagues in GIS do a great job always adding to our technology, always being able to help us to remain transparent, which you'll see on the dashboard again at your convenience. So we're excited about all the new levers that we can pull to help us better forecast our budgets each year. The team just recently pushed out an opportunity to be able to quantify the amount of drainage assets in each program year, so your budgets now will mirror better what's truly needed within that dedicated zone, right? Instead of just year over year what we've always done, right? We want to base those budgets on what our needs are, so we're excited about that. Here in the future, we'll be able to distill that down to the subdivisions At the subdivision level, we'll be able to look at individual programs specific to a subdivision to help push that out and know exactly how much infrastructure is within the confines of that perimeter fence. So we're excited. We've got a great team in place and looking forward to next year.
Okay, so the 10-year rotation's looking like something that's doable.
Oh, yes, sir. We believe so. We're going to continue to monitor
Yeah.
and measure, and we'll let you know, but we believe so.
Thanks very much.
Just
I think
real quick,
just one,
just
one of the things to add on that is that, you know, a lot of the areas we've been in have been the open ditch areas, and we're going to get into the areas that are much more, are almost exclusively underground. So, you know, we'll have to shift some of those contracted dollars over to that work. And until we get into that work, we won't really have a full handle on exactly how long it'll take us to get through the underground stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, where we're at right now, we're looking.
We feel
we're looking
good about it
When we
where
get
we are.
there, we'll have to figure it out once we
Yes.
get there.
yeah, the only question I was just going to follow up was, you know, any surprises in that work, or is it pretty much what we expected?
Mayor, I think the surprises are naturally with weather events, right? It's challenging where these systems are full of water at times when we're trying to get out there and camera and TV and do different things. So we do battle the weather a bit. And then naturally with staffing and turnover or maybe even vacation and things of that nature, just balancing our resources and capabilities and understanding better how much we need to supplement with external services.
And are we cataloging before and after, you know, photos and those types of things? Same thing, I guess, with the closed circuit TV. Are we cataloging that with before and after photos?
Yes, sir. So we have all of our videos that we serve or that we save in a repository. And so we have the ability to go back, look at footage, look at historical information. And so also learning the subtle nuances of all those, the pieces of equipment and the file storage and things. So we're definitely one step at a time, but we're doing well.
That's good. Any other questions, comments? Slide number 8, just I want to highlight the tax rate implications. So if I read this correct, we would have been expecting in the current year to be at 0.3229. Instead, we're at 0.300. And then by 27.31 versus is where we're now expecting to be versus the 0.3229. So I think this is a testament to how we planned this and how we promoted it. That the super conservative approach on value, you know, and the data that we put into it. So just wanted to highlight that we're on a good track here. To actually, Trent, help me. I think the whole bond program we said 2 cents on the tax rate, something like that, if I remember correctly.
It's been a while, but I think
Been a
it was
while.
somewhere,
Me too.
somewhere around that. Yes, sir.
I don't want to misspeak on it, but that's what I remember. So we may actually come in not only under that, but that'd be nice with some
Yeah.
growth figures.
I think our projections at that time were well above what our current rate is.
Right.
We've been able to bring it down with some other mechanisms as well.
And then just again, kind of just going back and looking at things, we design things and then we build them, and then just want to make sure that they're performing as we expected. So like Wesley, there's not a lot you can do there, right? Because it's older infrastructure. A lot of these projects that we're talking about are older neighborhoods, so there's not, unlike Willowcrest. I mean, Willowcrest was really being brought up to almost today's standards by adding detention and those types of things. Shady Crest and some of these others, we're not going to be able to be that lucky to be able to put those types of infrastructure improvements in place, but we will improve the drainage. So like in West Lee, you know, real simple, is the finished project performing as we expected it to do? And I know we've had some rain events, even though we've had droughts, but we've had some rain events to test it. Same thing in Willowcrest. I know the folks in Willowcrest are ecstatic that, you know, we'll have a major rain event and they don't have standing water in the street. So they're happy with that. But is it performing the way we expected it?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think most of the complaints have been reduced, especially after that project's been completed. I haven't heard many calls for service out that way. Maybe a few just to get some bellies out of those locations, but outside of that, it's been working.
Good deal. And then slide 15, I know we're going to move on to streets, but Fight Road was brought up. As we're contemplating Fight Road and we do the drainage and then we come back in with the streets, just going to throw this out here that at the Dad's Club might be to our advantage and all of our families that go out there to do something for a left turn lane or something to widen right there at the Dad's Club, be able to put in a left turn lane into the Dad's Club so traffic that's going through and passing the Dad's Club can move on. Just something to consider as we've got some time on this one, because again, we're not out to design, and if we're lucky and get some dollars moved over to TxDOT on some of that other, seems like we might be able to help that situation out during their peak times during the year. So a lot of families obviously out there, so that might be something worth taking a look at. So last call for questions, comments. All right.
So one more thing before we move on. I know Member Koza stepped out, but the answer to his question on Shady Crest was, when was that design going to be complete? That would be January 2026, in about 9 months.
Okay, we'll follow up with him as well. So we had that Shady. I should have known that. We had that Shady Crest homeowner association a couple of months ago. It was January of 26. All right, we'll move on.
Switching from drainage to transportation, we will discuss various transportation projects, provide operations and maintenance updates from the traffic division, as well as discuss conditions of the city streets and sidewalks. And we will open up for questions again at the end. Here's a 5-year summary of the 25 through to 29 CIP, projected to be more than $197 million. Staff continues to work with other agencies such as Houston-Galveston Area Council, HDAC, to secure supplemental funding for future street and trail projects and Federal Highway Administration funding. The TIRS, or Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, is also another source of funds for projects. Approximately $17 million is being funded by TIRS. Currently, we have these two projects that have started the design phase. The project for the median landscape in Kingsley and Kirby has not started yet. So it's too early to provide a definite date on when construction will be completed. But based on the size of the project, we estimate this project can be completed by summer of 2026. I'll provide more details on Pearland Parkway at Berry Rose intersection on a later slide. We have two projects anticipated for future projects as listed on this slide. These projects have not been funded yet, but will be presented to Council for consideration during our upcoming CIP workshops for fiscal year 26 funding. Here are the several projects to celebrate that were completed in the last year, and the completion year shows on the column there, all 2024. Out of the completed projects within the last 2 years, I would like to highlight the McCard Road Extension Project. This project included completion gap between Macau and Cullen Parkway with a 4-lane concrete roadway and was completed on time and on budget. Here you can see how McCard was before the gap construction and after the completion. We have 12 projects, transportation projects that are currently under design. Council would like to make a correction that was not carried over to this presentation. The Pearland Parkway at Broadway intersection improvements project's design budget is actually $180,000. The projects listed here are showing their estimated design completion date and associated design budget. Several of these projects have other funding sources, such as Macau Road Widening Project and the Pearland Parkway at Berry Rose intersection improvements, which have the Federal Highway Administration funding through TxDOT's administration. Shadow Creek Parkway landscaping, lighting, and sidewalks, and the intersection improvements in Shadow Creek Range projects are being funded by TIRS. Here, additional transportation projects under design. The Broadway expansion Phase 1 and 2 and Dixie Farm Road at Hastings Friendswood Road intersection projects have federal funding through TxDOT as well. Out of the projects under design, we have some big projects such as Macau Road Widening, which includes construction of approximately 3 miles of a 4-lane concrete curb and gutter divided boulevard section roadway including storm sewers, detention pond, traffic signals, landscaping, and a 10-foot sidewalk. We have been in close coordination with the city of Brookside Village, and they have been very helpful through this whole process, especially with the land acquisition process that is required to complete this project. This project is approximately 70% design complete. This project has an advance funding agreement with TxDOT, who administers the federal funding through the Federal Highway Administration. And TxDOT will be managing this project. This is expected to start the construction in January 28 and be completed in January 2030. The AFA agreement executed in 2017 is an 80-20 split funding participation, which means city will be reimbursed up to 80% of the construction cost agreed in the AFA. The most recent opinion of probable construction costs provided show a significant increase in the construction costs, and the city has recently submitted a request to HDAC to consider an increase in funding participation. If approved, an amendment to the AFA will be needed, which will be presented to council for consideration. The Pearland Parkway at Berry Rose intersection is currently under design. This project will improve traffic at the Pearland Parkway at Berry Rose intersection. We recently submitted a request for TxDOT's funding consideration through HDAC, and we are waiting on the advance funding agreement, AFA, from TxDOT. Once received an AFA agreement, we will be bringing that agreement to council for consideration. This project will be completed by fall of 2026. The Hills Road Pearland Parkway to City of Pearland city limits has recently started design, although too early to have a definite date for completion. We estimate this project to be completed by fall of 2027. Switching from design to projects that are currently in construction, you will notice the completion quarter for the concrete sidewalks and replacement project shows active because this is an ongoing construction project across the whole city. Public Works Division will provide additional details on this later in the presentation. The Smith Ranch Road Extension project is currently under construction and progressing well. Construction is expected to be completed by later this year. The Bailey Road expansion construction is ongoing and progressing well. This project included expanding existing 2-lane to 4-lane roadway and a new roadway bridge crossing over Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. Current construction schedule indicates this project will attain substantial completion by September of this year and final completion by December. This means this project has a potential to be complete way before the original schedule, which was spring of 2026. Council, this resumes the CIP projects update. I will now turn over the presentation to Ms. Yossi Ramirez, traffic engineer.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cole and council members. The City of Pearland's Traffic Operations Department plays a crucial role in maintaining and improving the safety, efficiency, and mobility of our transportation system. Our department oversees a wide range of elements, including traffic signals, school zones, communication system components, street signs, and other infrastructure. Our department ensures the smooth flow of traffic, reduces congestion, and enhances the overall quality of life for our residents. Our traffic signals infrastructure has grown from 55 signals in 2011 to 115 traffic signals as of today, which includes 10 traffic signals covered by our Brazoria County interlocal maintenance agreement. The daily maintenance of our traffic operations includes troubleshooting several internal components in the traffic signal cabinets, field hardware, school zone flashers, as well as repairing damaged streetlights and converting them to energy-efficient LED fixtures. Last year, we also inherited the maintenance of street signs, which involve installing and repairing signs along city-owned streets. Additionally, at the request of our Facilities and Parks Department, the sign crew now oversees parking lot payment markings. Beyond our daily maintenance task, we are working on several projects, including short-term projects that includes implemented traffic calming measures based on residents' requests. Midterm projects involve installing flashing yellow arrows at several intersections, overseeing the review of span wire intersections, and replacing outdated traffic signal equipment, such as traffic signal cabinets and detection systems. In the long term, we are beginning phase 2 of the Intelligent Transportation System Operations Management Study, ITS for short, which will guide us the allocation of staffing and resources necessary to manage and maintain the city's infrastructure. In addition, the Pearland Mobility Study and the FM 518 Corridor Study are each 90% funded by the Houston-Galveston Area Council and 10% are funded by the city. The results of these studies will be presented to council in May 2025. The Traffic Division manages the Traffic Calming Committee, which includes city staff from engineering and public works, police, fire, and a consultant professional traffic engineer. The traffic policy is outlined in Ordinance Number 1301-1, which is based on the Texas Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or TMUTCD. Meetings are held monthly, and typical requests include concerns such as cut-through traffic, speeding, requests for stop signs, speed humps, and signal warrants. The complete analysis typically takes around 45 days depending on the type of request. One frequent request is to lower the speed limit on residential streets. However, according to state law, the speed limit on residential streets is 30 miles per hour, whether a sign is posted or not. Therefore, the city does not lower speed limits on individual residential streets, but instead it maintains a consistent residential speed limit throughout the city, in line with the state law. The Traffic Calming Committee addresses requests on a case-by-case basis, which has been the established approach for managing traffic issues in this area. However, if traffic issues in a particular area are higher in number, frequency, or concentration than the rest of the city, the committee may recommend a comprehensive traffic study. The Traffic Division consists of 9 employees, 4 who are responsible for maintaining 115 traffic signals, and 3 who manage all signage on city-owned streets and pavement markings for the city and park facilities. With the anticipated growth in infrastructure, as well as the increase in demands for sign maintenance, pavement markings, and fiber connectivity within our signals, Phase 1 of the ITS study concluded the additional staff will be necessary to meet these growing needs. Phase 1 of the ITS study in Pearland assessed the staffing needs required for safe and efficient traffic operations. Comparisons were made with the cities of Galveston, Sugar Land, and League City, all of which have similar urban populations. As you can see on the slide, the city of Pearland has the highest number of traffic signals, but the lowest staffing levels compared to other cities, making it challenging to meet response times and address traffic operation issues promptly. Similarly, for traffic sign staff, the Phase 1 study made the same comparisons with the city of Galveston, Sugar Land, and League City. As you can see, the city of Pearland sign maintenance has grown from 13,468 traffic signs to 15,991 traffic signs. This does not include the newly added subdivision to the city. Additionally, the traffic sign crew has expanded its responsibilities by introducing new in-house services for pavement markings in parking lots for the city facilities and parks. The traffic division currently consists of 9 members. This team is responsible for the engineering and operation of the city's traffic system. Additional staff in the traffic operations department is essential to meet the growing demands and responsibilities associated with our operations. Additionally, team members being requested based on the current workload and the city's needs, which is also supported and recommended by Phase 1 of the ITS study. Adding a traffic signal supervisor will help reduce training demands and provide the necessary field presence. Hiring 2 additional traffic signal technicians will allow us to maintain more signals and ensure quicker response times for maintenance issues. Moreover, these additional team members will be crucial for visually monitoring problem sites and collecting traffic data. Adding 2 traffic sign technicians will increase our capacity to install signs and maintain pavement markings. It is our vision that one crew could focus on signs while the others will focus on pavement markings. This will help us support our infrastructure. The traffic division team has overseen the review of 5 span wire intersections, has provided first response to emergency weather situations, and closed 680 work orders for signals and sign repairs. They have also completed streetlight repairs along SH35 and Cullen Parkway, as well as finished parking lot pavement markings for Tomry Library, and we are in the process of finishing the Pearland Recreation Center. Additionally, the team has implemented traffic committee requests and deployed radar counters for several traffic studies. The Traffic Calming Committee has released several studies in the past year, including the traffic signal installation at Dixie Farm at Hastings Kennels and the Sleepy Hollow traffic study. A notable project is the 2023 Dixie Farm Road Bridge transition issues at Cowards Creek and Merrick's Creek. The study highlighted the need to modify the transition areas for each bridge. The CIP project was finalized last year, and crash data showed that the reduction in crashes in the surrounding area for 2024 to 2025, with no reported crashes since the project has been finalized. Additionally, highlights include the completion of our Phase 1 ITS study and the installation of our latest traffic signal detection system, No Traffic. The traffic detection technology has evolved significantly, and this new system incorporates AI capabilities, combining both camera and radar detection. The system enables us to manage and monitor intersections from our traffic management center, which help with the optimization of traffic flow, improving safety, responding to incidents in real time, and monitoring special events. It provides key performance metrics such as the level of service of an intersection, the number of arrivals on green and red lights, traffic counts, and real-time alerts. To effectively monitor the 115 traffic signals, additional staff is required. This will allow the traffic superintendent, traffic engineer, and in the hopes for a future TMC operator to oversee the traffic management center. At this time, I will turn the presentation back to Eric Hammond for the next segment of our streets update.
Good afternoon again, and thank you for an opportunity to expand a bit farther on our transportation network and maintenance programs. The image before you captures the current network of both our streets and sidewalk inventory. At current, there are 980 lane miles of roadway, with 82% of those being comprised of concrete and the balance of 18% asphalt construction. Additionally, there are 617 miles of sidewalks that fall within our community and within this maintenance program. Prior to FY25, there were 9 team members assigned and budgeted for to maintain the entire street and sidewalk network, one of which was a dedicated supervisor who managed the day-to-day operations, 3 team members solely dedicated to the 617 miles of sidewalk maintenance, and 5 team members dedicated to maintaining the 980 miles of asphalt and concrete streets. As of the FY25 budget process, City Council supported the infusion of 5 additional team members to expand our road maintenance activity. The team members were funded at mid-year, and as such, positions have been posted, interviews are being scheduled, and staff anticipated to onboard early April. The main intent to these additional personnel is to expand our services and allow for routine pothole patching, concurrent with preventative services such as our crack sealing program. It is important to note that the sidewalk staffing levels remain static, with 3 team members solely dedicated to managing the city's entire sidewalk network. So what does our infrastructure growth look like over the years? Before you is a slide that you've seen before, but we'll share this again to recall the community's infrastructure growth since 2006. The orange columns indicate the city's miles of roadway, which have grown by 70% since 2006, while the gray columns illustrate the sidewalk growth during that same time. Sidewalk infrastructure also increased by 70% during that time. The blue columns, however, indicate the budgeted staff, which has remained static since 2006 until, again, that mid-year 2025 process when those additional staff members will be infused. Staffing aside, the team has made paving improvements to roads such as Brookney, Max, Sharon, Garden, Fight, McLean, Walnut, Terrell, and Sharondale, just to name a few. As we make improvements, the team updates our pavement condition index in real time to reflect operational improvements on those public roads to our live dashboard, which is why you no longer see these roads symbolized in the previously failed red, yellows, and orange that we were talking about just a year ago. This work plan provided just over 11 centerline miles of rehabilitation since FY24. This slide illustrates the total planned investment from operations, CIP, and the drainage bond projects that include road rehabilitation between FY24 and FY25. This provides for over 13 miles of road rehabilitation in FY24 and over 15 miles in FY25. So good things to come on the horizon. Moving forward, the team intends to rehabilitate pavement on Veterans, Wagon Trail, Bardette, Raza, Woody, and Cherry, just to name, again, a few. This work package has been budgeted for and cooperative pricing has been obtained for these roads. Currently, the team is evaluating that cooperative pricing based on recent discussions. And so after further review and after we compare that to other cooperative opportunities and bid projects of recent past, then we'll look to recommend an award to council. Should the cooperative pricing remain the best value, the team will recommend a contract with PaveCon for these roads. Currently, that's estimated at $1.3 million, but it will rehabilitate an additional 1.7 miles of roadway within our community. Staff also intend to leverage outsourced services for localized base repair. That's along Roy, Veterans, Old Chocolate, and Plum near the bus barn in advance of the forthcoming interlocal paving agreement between us and Brazoria County. Exciting news, the county looks to come into the community as early as July and be able to provide their overlay services. But however, to support that operation, based on last year's discussion, the city would take on the base failures and the base repair to allow the county to come in and provide their overlay. And finally, it's the intent of the team in conjunction with key stakeholders such as EDC, Brazoria County, and CIP to improve just over 41 centerline miles of roadway within the next 5 years. This image illustrates the location of those planned improvements. Again, this is all live on our interactive dashboard. It can be found on the streets webpage, and it illustrates the condition of each of the road segments based on our previous PCI assessment and all the areas that we look to improve over the coming years. Based on the 2023 Pavement Condition Survey, Infrastructure Management Systems suggested an annual budget of $5.9 million, and they indicate that that's necessary over the next 5 years to maintain a steady state PCI of 74. Based on our infrastructure and industry pricing averages, deviation from this estimated annual budget would negatively impact our PCI. We would anticipate that over the next 5 years, as illustrated in this trend line here on the bottom right-hand corner of the chart. This table illustrates the annual street maintenance budget for FY25 as well as for the previous 4 years. As you can see, competing priorities impacted the available budget dollars in prior years, but in FY24 and again in FY25, council supported an infusion of $3 million and $1.4 million respectively to swiftly improve our transportation network. Regarding asphalt street impacts alone, the 2013 survey indicated an overall asphalt PCI of 66, which has deteriorated since then by 11% due to deferred funding in the asphalt maintenance program. Should this trend continue, we would expect further decline in our asphalt network. That said, I will add that the additional infusion from the past 2 years has helped us move the needle on those recently improved asphalt roads. So again, thank you for that. To be clear on the capacity and services we provide compared to the best practices, with the existing 5-member team, our current level of service typically circulate around pothole filling and localized asphalt level ups. Although 5 additional personnel were granted to the division, those positions are funded at mid-year and as such will not be incorporated into the program until next month. With the additional personnel, staffing levels are still slightly unaligned with best management practices, which rely on an extensive list of services intended to prolong our public investment and the usability of our roadways. These services on the left side of the scale are only provided via contractual services, interlocal, and capital services. So as funding allows, and while those on the right are either currently or will soon be, once the completion of the onboarded new staff will soon be provided. We would again like to thank Council for the support in the first step of our multi-year approach to aligning crew and services and capabilities with those best management practices. Once on board in April, the new crew will allow for a rapid deployment pothole patching service as well as our crack seal service. The team did develop a 5-year planning for right-sizing this operation and allowing a more robust service level closer to the left side of that previous scale. The team does desire to be expanded in FY26 with a concrete repair crew, which at current there are no dedicated services and minimal contract dollars assigned for that, although 80% of our network is concrete infrastructure. Moving into FY27 and FY28, the team would look to recommend a second asphalt and then a second concrete crew, so that a way we can begin to split our community into 2 separate sections and manage work accordingly. To expand on the previous staffing slide, we offer these 2 glimpses of the crew and the actual teams performing the intended service. Preventative maintenance such as crack sealing is critical to preventing or reducing water penetration into our asphalt and concrete streets. Once water intrusion occurs, that water then creates the potential for damage and deterioration. It is anticipated that with an ongoing crack seal program, we will prolong the life of our road network, and a 4-member team is required at minimum to make sure that we're providing safe traffic control as well as the service as intended. And then similarly, on your left, as it relates to pothole work, the team provides pothole filling services on a daily basis, weather permitting, and that service is really contingent upon a 5-person team being here, which again means that if there's sickness, illness, somebody out on vacation, those things, the crew suffers, the service itself suffers. So looking forward to getting some new team members on board and building the necessary service levels and redundancy. While service level advancements have been made since we met last, we would like to showcase 2 of those. The first is the team's desire to no longer simply fill potholes to mitigate individual depressions. In many cases, our pavement failures result in multiple potholes spanning one single localized area. Even after filling and while safer to the commuter, the ride quality and the aesthetic are less than desired. And so to improve on this, the team is equipped to provide localized skin patches and to cover multiple pothole patches in a single asphalt skin patch. While this is more comprehensive of a repair and requires additional staff time, the result is an improved ride quality. We've already started this operation throughout the community. Very soon you'll be able to see a short video published online on the streets page that kind of speaks to this. So excited to get this out and start making these strategic improvements. The second improvement is to expand our program-based approach, and the team can now see all potholes through our CityWorks work order management system. Now we can see those potholes and service requests overlaid onto our PCI data, and now it helps us more direct assign team members into dedicated zones, which reduce travel time and improve areas of the community in batches and helps us work locally. This program still relies on the use of our pothole priority survey, and as soon as those new team members are onboarded, we'll have the necessary services or resources rather to get out there, assess the potholes, and make sure that they're assigned and addressed and mitigated post-haste. Transitioning to sidewalks, earlier this month there were 943 sidewalk repair locations on our dashboard. Just over 650 of those were in high status and just under 250 of those were in medium status. To improve our sidewalk repair operations and reduce backlog, staff are currently targeting areas of high and medium risk submitted prior to October 1 of 2024. Since the sidewalk repair contract commenced in September, 55% of those work orders have been completed, with the balance anticipated to be completed by summer. And then immediately upon completion of this first round, the team has the next batch of work orders that were submitted after October 1, 2024, and we'll be assigning those to our contractor for repair. So For a little bit of background, in FY21 and prior, the city would invest approximately $500,000 annually in sidewalk repairs. In FY22 and until the adoption of the recent bond, which included our GAP sidewalk and mitigation program, the city invested approximately $900,000 annually. And since the adoption of the bond, which provided $15 million dedicated to sidewalk, gap mitigation, and repair, the team now has the opportunity to invest a little over $2 million in operations year one and $4 million for the next several years. To date and since award, the new contract with these bond dollars, the city has invested $1.6 million in repairs, completed over 425 work orders previously shared, and replaced a little over 6 miles of sidewalk at multiple locations. I'll add that these metrics and progress are live on that public dashboard again, so you can see it in real time. And then in addition to a data-driven approach for sidewalk repair, the team also developed the same concept for our sidewalk gap mitigation program through the great work from our colleagues in GIS. There's a vast number of gaps in our pedestrian mobility network. And in order to focus and align and make sure that we are prioritizing those, our GIS friends helped us to determine of our schools, our parks, and our city facilities so we can begin a targeted approach to mitigate gaps towards those public destinations first. That dashboard now leverages our PCI data, identifies the gaps within that buffer, and then allows staff to come out, conduct a field audit, and determine feasibility to connect in between any of those local gaps and make sure that we, again, are having a targeted approach on where we're trying to mitigate gaps first. And finally, we'd like to share that there are, again, publications related to our street and sidewalk services, which can be found online on the streets webpage. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Epperson for questions. Thank you.
Back to you, Mayor and Council.
With that, we'll turn to Ms. Mona first.
Thank you so much for the report. So when I was reviewing the budget binder, I noted that on the account 514, we've allocated 1.1 million. And I'm sorry, Trent, you may have sent this to me earlier, and I do apologize. So where's the 1.4, the remaining amount, coming from? If you go to page 73, slide 73, we've allocated 2.5 million. In the budget binder, it's 1.1 under 514, infrastructure reinvestment.
So that's inclusive of the capital project that is allocating money for streets, the street rehabilitation program. For FY23 and FY24, they're combining those two things.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
And one other question. So the study that I believe it was a couple years ago or last year, how much money should we be allocating for the road repair? Is it 6 million, 6.2 million?
Yes, ma'am. Approximately 5.9 million for the next 5 years to maintain that steady state PCI of 74.
Thank you.
All right, open up to questions, comments. Mr. Tooman?
Can we go back to, I guess, slide 76 or 77? It's the advancements. Yeah, that's it. So just a quick question. So on the right or either picture, on the side, you see the actual ditch itself, Eric, the green part. So I've been noticing some of our roads, one of the biggest detriments to asphalt's water, right? And so if the water can't run off the road, then it creates situations like this. I'm not saying this is a great example, but I've noticed some of our roads have where the grass is built up higher than the road edge, which creates the water pooling and then leads to the potholes. Do we have well, number one, or when we're doing this, are the guys looking for that to make sure that the drainage is, and then do we have a way to grade that off, that edge, like roadway edge, so that the water doesn't pool?
Yes, sir. We have a maintainer in inventory currently that we could deploy to do this. The team will look for this while they're out conducting pothole services. And as we continue to scale up our operation and our staffing capabilities, these are the things that we'll begin to add to the program to ensure a more robust maintenance program.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. If you go back to slide 48, the Shadow Creek Parkway landscaping, street lighting, and sidewalks, that's 740,000 just for design. I guess my fear, and Matt probably knows where I'm headed, is the the major design we paid for 288, and then the landscaping price tag that comes behind a major design that outlines all the work to be done. So I guess, can you expound on that a little bit more, and any idea on where we end up on construction costs?
Can I provide that information at a later time for you?
Yeah, that's fine. And I realize it's funded by TERS, but still, it's tax dollars.
Yep. Mr. Baum?
Going to slide 43, where it talks about the total funding over the next several years. I had a few questions about this one. Are 27, 28, 29, those numbers, are we anticipating those are going to be bond programs? We don't actually have that funding planned currently, right?
Correct. Those are all part of a potential future bond election that is not approved at this time. Those projects are basically unfunded unless that potential election moves forward.
And I'm sorry, I said 27 through 29. Does that apply to 26 also? Or does that start in 27?
That starts in 27.
27? Okay, thank you. Also, with that, with these numbers, as Member Chavarria rightly pointed out, we need roughly $6 million a year to maintain our current PCI. Does that include what we're looking at here? Or we need 6, but we're going to spend 27 this year, and we need 6 and 26, but we're going to spend 15? Is that what we're looking at? So for this year and for next year, we're getting ahead. Ultimately, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, sir. This goes towards that annual operating budget, and so this will benefit and help us maintain the steady state.
Okay, so by spending well over 6 this year and next year, that annual need going into 27, 8, 9 further should theoretically come down from needing 6 million.
So I think we're talking two different things here. So the operating budget that Eric and his team managed to do the asphalt overlays and the pothole filling and the other types of repairs versus the CIP budget. So these are going to be your major capital improvements like McCowa, like Smith Ranch Road that's under construction now, Hughes Road. So when you do those and you do convert from asphalt to concrete curb and gutter, you're impacting your PCI, and you're also changing it to a or a product or a concrete product that's going to have a much longer life than the asphalt. So it does impact that, but it's not really a one-for-one, since these are not going to dollars, for that $6 million need. It'll incrementally reduce that over years. But I think you got to be careful there, because as we continue to convert asphalt roadways to concrete curb and gutter, we've also it's more expensive to maintain and repair those. So as large areas of our community that were built, when we started our big growth spurt in the early 2000s, when those concrete roads, start approaching 30, 40, and 50 years, then now we're maintaining significant concrete streets versus, the asphalt streets we maintain today. So that'll change that dynamic as well into the future. And we already see some of that impacting us where we've done some of the neighborhood street reconstruction projects through the bond program when they have existing concrete curb and gutter roadways that we basically, we've had to go in and do those via a bond program versus a maintenance budget. So those are kind of the two different things at play there.
Okay, and then I had one other question. I'm sorry, I don't remember what slide it was on, but the median landscaping Kingsley and Kirby project,
The one before.
is it right before this?
It's the one that,
One right after this.
3 or something like that.
44. Next slide. Yeah, this TR 2203. I was unfamiliar with it, so I looked it up in the budget book. And it has a budget allocated in the budget book of $1 this year. So I was curious what we're planning on doing it, unless I'm reading this incorrectly, but it says the project total is 500, historical spend is 499.
So the historical spend is the previously approved budget that may not have been expended at this time. It might have been approved in a prior budget year. And so we're just carrying the project over due to a software quirk. If we want to maintain those projects that were previously funded in our capital improvement plan because they're ongoing, we have to show an expenditure in the CIP period, which for last year was fiscal year 25 through 29.
Okay, so when we look in the budget book, the historical spend may not actually be a historical spend.
Correct, that's a historical authorization.
Okay. That's probably a bigger conversation for a later date then. That's going to make it pretty tricky to see what's going on with projects unless you happen to know the individual project like that. Okay, it's going to take me a minute to wrap my brain around that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I know, Ms. Chavaret, you had a follow-up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We receive a lot of requests regarding Harkey. Can you give us an update on that? Is that a projected street or something in the near future we're going to be working on?
Yes, ma'am. So Harkey is intended to be improved as part of our drainage bond project. And whenever the drainage system comes in, those roads are going to be rehabbed from 518 south towards Magnolia. So we look forward to that road being removed and replaced as well, ma'am.
What's the timeline on that project?
Yeah, we'll double check and let you know.
So if Fight Road's delayed, will Harkey and Fight all be timed close to the same if we're talking about changing the Fight Road timeline?
So I think Harkey goes to a different drainage area. We'll double check and confirm the timelines on those.
Harkey goes to Mary's Creek as well.
But in a different route, though.
Yeah. It crosses, Harkey crosses Mary's, so that's where it's going. But as I understand it, so with that, in the drainage project, after we do the drainage portion of it, we'll come back in and we're going to reconstruct Harkey to 4 lanes, concrete, versus the 2 lanes that are there now. So we'll actually get a major upgrade. Because if you look at the intersection and the bridge, it's already 4 lanes right there. So we'll be matching that.
Yeah, Harkey will be 5 lane with the center lane, 2-way left turn lane. So there will be 2 lane going each direction plus the center lane. And this is the only 2023 bond project where we included the street as a part of drainage project. So we will have drainage and pavement and sidewalk, everything included in this project. So it limits it from 518 to Magnolia. So its outfall is Mary's Creek. So Fight Road will have its own outfall. So it's going to cross Fight Road, but Fight Road will drain into Harkey system. So it can work independently too.
Question. Real quick, on page 51, it was, I forget which project. Are we looking for safety fund in that safety bucket on this? Not sure who. Lorenzo, I know that's one of the next call for projects is in the safety side of things. Is that what we're looking for here?
You're talking slide 50. Yes, sir. So no, this one was a recent request from HGAC that asked for projects to be added to, what did they call that? Carryover spend down. They had funds that they needed to expense relatively quickly.
Yeah, because it had to be out for budget by X time or out for bid by X time. So okay.
Right. So this project has to be, according to that timeline, it has to be at least let by August of 2026. I think the end of August of 2026.
Right.
It was this project and the intersection improvements over at Dixie Farm and Hastings Friendswood.
All right. I'll be looking for it. That was all I had. Any other follow-up from anyone? Good deal. Staff, you got anything? I know we're right at 5:30.
No, thank you, Mayor. I've got a few things that will gather some information and push that back out to you in a memo just to follow up on some of the things we.
Member Byram has a quick follow-up.
Just one thing to share. I don't know if it's been relayed, but it's a good opportunity to relay it. The residents from Country Place reached out to me that you guys did a superb job on the sidewalk repair project that you did out there. So I don't get to talk to y'all all that often, so I wanted to share that with you and say thank you. And the residents are very happy with the work you did out there. So thank you.
All right, with that, we will adjourn this special council meeting, CIP update series at 5:33. With